Hello, this is Kerrigan, and I have another video for you today. Today, I'm super excited to be doing a collab with Meow Meow Kapow. She has an art and watercolor channel, and there will be a link to her channel down in the description as well as up there. So let's get started. So what we did is I have all the Sennelier colors. So this is all the Sennelier colors from the full set. So she picked from some of the colors that she had at random, and we went from there and we did a limited palette. Essentially, this is like a full palette. So let's pretend this is a giant palette. This is 98 colors. Like, it's not, I'm not really going to ever work with 98 colors all at once. It's really important to keep in mind for my 98 color set and for the 48 color set is that I might carry with me, say, for this is my travel Daniel Smith set with 24 colors that I might still make some changes to it. You guys know how I am. But anyways, so I might travel with all 24 of these colors, but when I actually paint something, I'm not actually going to use all 24 colors. In fact, for something like this, I used a Pitt pen and just these 3 colors. And that's pretty much like how I normally paint, where I paint with just a few colors. But the difference with a limited color palette is that whereas with a large palette with something like this, I might have 24 colors and I might choose just 3 colors. I still have access to all these colors, so if I need to make some changes, I can add one more. Whereas with the limited color palette that you're going to see me swatch, I'm literally just limited to these colors. And so that adds an extra level of challenge that isn't present even when I'm only using, 3 or 4 colors from a 24 color palette. It's a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit more intense in a way. Like, I probably would have used more. I probably would have used closer to like 6 colors, but with this setup, I didn't want to use all 6 colors. I wanted to keep it as limited as possible. So when I made these pieces, I tried to use as few colors as possible and tried to get in as much detail and as much depth as possible. And that's the other thing that doing these limited color palettes can teach you, is that they can, at least for me, they've really taught me the importance of playing with depth and playing with shadow. Getting a gray was a little bit challenged because I tried different grays and I wasn't happy with most of them. But I did try to, play with shadows and play with value, and play with just all these other things because I didn't have a whole bunch of colors to work with. So I had to be a little bit more mindful of, where my colors went and how everything went. But overall, even though this is just, I just did a couple of still lifes and a mini landscape, it was still really fun and really challenging. And I definitely recommend that, people at all levels try a limited palette. I think a famous one is the Zorn palette, and there are others. But anyway, colors, the swatched out. Now you're going to see me make this, swatch here. Sorry. You're going to see me make this swatch, and I'm going to go through and make all the colors sped up, and you're going to see that in a minute. But the colors that we chose were lemon yellow, cadmium yellow deep, Chinese orange, Caput Mortuum, Cobalt Deep, and Phthalo blue. Now, especially the Chinese orange is not a color that I've really played around with all that much because it was 3 pigments, and I figured that whatever I made with it would be a little bit of a mess, and that's kind of true. But it also makes these really cool oranges. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see these really cool oranges, and you can get a gray from the mixing it with the blue. So there is a lot of utility in this color, so I ended up adding it back to my 48 color set. So that's what you're going to see me do in a minute. So anyway, another thing that is part of the challenge of working with a limited palette, at least for me, we talked about it, and she said one of the things that you should do is you should try to make your subject be more closer to what the colors available in your limited palette. So since even though it made a purple, it wasn't the strongest purple, but you could get a purple here. Even though you couldn't get a red, you could get a sort of muted purple with Caput Mortuum, which is a red pigment, and Cobalt Deep. So that's what I ended up doing, is just making this little purple feather as my first feather that I ever made. So that's what I ended up doing for, you know, for my preliminary sketch. And then I made a variant of this that I actually don't think is as good as this one. I like this one better than it. So I think without further ado, I think we should get started and go on to the swatching. All right, so we are finally at the swatching. Okay, so what we have here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down these colors. So this is the lemon yellow, which is PY3. So I'm going to do the PY3, and then I'm going to do the cadmium yellow, which is what this one is. This is cadmium yellow deep, which is PY35. And then after that, I'm going to do the lemon yellow and the cadmium yellow. So what I was saying earlier that some people do is, instead of just having one mix for the cadmium yellow, because it is such a limited palette, they'll make multiple mixes with different levels of intensity in the colors. I'm not going to do that just because it would take too long to do that. What I'm doing here is, this is the Chinese orange. So, and then the next one would be the Chinese orange plus the yellow. Like I said, I'm not going to make multiple mixes of the same color, just because I see the mixes as like they're going. So I don't really feel the need to get too intense. Now, this is one color that it actually drove me. This is the Caput Mortuum. It drove me to distraction how wet it was and how much the binder had separated from the pigment, and how much, despite my efforts, I could never really get it back together. And I heard other people say that this was the same thing with this particular pigment. So what I ended up doing with this Caput Mortuum, because it's such a beautiful color, is I just went ahead and I bought the half pan, and I have no regrets. I actually bought the half pan in the middle of doing this. I just fell in love with the color and just decided that I needed to have it. Anyway, this color that I just did is Cobalt Deep. Now, Cobalt is a color that is not really the kind of color that I would normally go out and buy. However, it was in the set, and I figure since I have it in the set, I'm just going to make sure I use it. And then this is Phthalo blue and lemon yellow, which of course, as you can see, makes some really deep greens, some very piney greens. And I was really, I was driven to distraction by that, because those greens are like almost perfect for me. Like if I had just a tinge of red, I could do it. And I tried doing it by mixing my own sort of Payne's gray variant, and it just did not work. So that was it. But this color here that I'm mixing with the cadmium yellow deep and the Chinese orange, this is one of the colors that made me feel like, okay, I got to give this Chinese orange. It's a 3-pigment color. The Chinese orange is PY150, PR209, and PBR23. So it's a lot of pigments, but I decided to give it a shot because that cadmium yellow and Chinese orange is a really nice color. And another one that really surprised me was the Caput Mortuum, the way that one went in and mixed. So this is the Caput Mortuum, and the Chinese orange Caput Mortuum is PR101. Which all the PR101s that I have give me problems in terms of getting them dry enough if they come. So now if I just see a pigment that's PR101 and I want it in a half pan, I'm just going to buy the half pan because I can't be bothered anymore. I'm getting too old for this. Anyway, the next color is Cobalt Deep and Chinese orange, and you can see that it was a kind of gray. That was the other thing that I found about these mixes, is that there's a little bit, there's so much variation that and your colors are so limited that if you see a color and you want it, there may, if you had more colors, you could probably replicate it easier. But man, do I want to memorize exactly how I got those colors. And that's part of why you see people make the charts that are like a step down charts with multiple steps for each section. Just because you get these like really interesting colors. Anyway, this is the end of the color chart. Now you can see the color chart in all its completed glory. There's just so many wonderful things here. I was really shocked that I could make a gray at all, because I don't know, I just didn't think that I could make a gray, because I'm so used to making my grays with either red and green or brown and burnt sienna and ultramarine, neither one of which I have here. All right. Anyway, I really appreciated working with Meow Meow Kapow and being able to bring this to you, and learn so much myself about making these limited palette color charts. And I probably, if I had it to do again, I would probably do the more extensive one, but I really appreciated having the smaller one because I still got a chance to learn a lot about this process. I also really enjoyed being able to use my little magnetic things that I made for my Sennelier video when I made the giant palette, and being able to use this. I probably will not travel with something like this, but it's nice to be able to create something like this in a flash to be able to use for a project like this. I probably will still travel with something like a 24 colors, but I did learn a lot about mixes and using alternative colors. And I also learned, I was actually surprised about how much I learned about orange being just useful, and like finding myself sort of like really drawn more to this Chinese orange and using it in places where I normally would not use an orange. So that was a really interesting surprise, and it was really good to learn that. Anyway, I really enjoyed doing this collab, and I hope that even though I'm not a real professional artist, that you guys still enjoyed watching this. I really love doing collabs. I'm too shy to ask about doing collabs, but if people want to do collabs, just reach out to me. I'm working on another collab right now, but just reach out to me. I can't, I won't be able to say yes to everybody, but it's still a lot of fun to do this, and I still learned a lot. So thank you so much to Meow Meow Kapow. If you haven't already checked out her channel, make sure you check out her channel. She's really fun. She's got a really fun art style. So make sure you check that out. But anyway, as you guys know, there's a video of the cats coming up. So here comes Stewie in a box that is way too small for him. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you like this video, and of course don't forget to be kind to one another. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. Stewie, let's ask ourselves, do you really fit in that box? You got a bunch of other boxes to choose from. Look at all these boxes he has to choose from. You gonna sit in the one you don't fit in? You really gonna do that? Who's your buddy? Who's your good buddy? Who's your good buddy? Oh, come here.